And moving on now, Zimbabwe is witnessing a major political battle, one on succession. It's the 82-year-old President Emmerson Mnangagwa who is facing rebellion over his push for a third term. The calls for him to step down come from both inside the president's ZANU-PF party and outside. Leading them is a war veteran and senior ZANU-PF member named Geza, also known as Bombshell, who launched a verbal offensive against the president. Now, Bombshell has repeatedly called on the 82-year-old leader to go or face being removed, and also accused the president of escalating corruption. The ZANU-PF party called Bombshell disloyal and described his comments against the president as treason. Now, fearing arrest or action, Bombshell went into hiding, from where, through his representatives, he continues to launch attacks on the president via social media, hinting at protests. Now, Bombshell is wanted by the police on 4 charges, including vehicle theft, undermining the authority of the president, and inciting public violence. Now, Bless Mhlanga, the journalist who first interviewed Bombshell last year, has also been arrested on charges of transmitting a message that incites violence.
Unfortunately, President Mnangagwa owns the courts. They have said they own the military, they own the police, they will do as they please. We will continue, I'm sure the lawyers will do what is right, but what we saw happening today is not fair, it is not justice, and our constitution does not support what has just taken place.
We are going to continue to engage with the authorities, as we have always been doing, to try and make sure that we create an environment that is allowing for our journalists to operate without fear and favor. This is bad for the profession, this is bad for the country, and certainly this is bad for even those that are in a leadership position.
President Mnangagwa is currently serving his second and final term, which expires in 2028. Though Zimbabwe's constitution limits presidential terms to 2 5-year terms, Mnangagwa's supporters launched a campaign for a third term for the leader. They argue he needs to remain in office to complete his Agenda 2030 development program. Now, despite the president's assurance that he intended to step down in 3 years, the ZANU-PF party adopted a motion that sought to extend Mnangagwa's term until 2030. Last month, the long convoy of tanks and armored personnel rolling through Harare sparked fears of a coup, but the government quickly allayed the public fears, saying that the tanks were in the capital as a part of a scheduled exercise. But the speculation continued to brew. Now, Bombshell's message has resulted in a purge in the ZANU-PF, and he and his allies have been expelled from the party. Other critics are also being silenced. Zimbabwe's opposition has already been weakened. Its leader, Emmerson, is still recovering from a 5-month stint in jail, where he spent his time on a concrete floor, sharing a cell with 80 people. He was arrested in June last year with more than 70 people for hosting an unlawful meeting at his private residence. Now, Timber's position reflects the criminalization of opposition in Zimbabwe. Even war veterans like Bombshell do not represent a united front. While Bombshell has voiced support for Vice President Constantine Chiwenga, the other veterans are still backing Mnangagwa and his 2030 agenda. While elections in Zimbabwe are still years away, a succession debate is already brewing and will possibly keep cooking.
Firstpost brings you the Ideas Pod at the Ricina Dialogue 2025, the largest gathering of global policymakers, thought leaders, and innovators, now on the fastest growing international news platform. Big ideas, big debates, big impact. Only at the Ideas Pod.
Ricina Hill.
Firstpost gives you front row access to the conversations that matter most. The Ideas Pod. Ricina Dialogue 2025 on Firstpost. From March 17th to March 19th.